and an attorney, and I'm running for Register of Probate. I bring with me 10 years of legal experience, but more importantly, a lifetime of organizing and advocacy and civic engagement. I am so excited to run for this position because it's really, really important. The Family and Probate Court is where we handle our most intimate, family-oriented legal matters. It is how much time we have with our kids. It is how we dissolve our marriages, how we make our families whole with adoption, who's taking care of mom and dad, and what really happens to our loved ones' estates at the end of their life. And so these are really deeply personal matters. They're about home, and home matters. I'm excited to run because I know that I bring with me a lot of experience in terms of bringing teams together, building out a digital infrastructure. I have 3 major tenets that I'm focused on, and that's building out a digital infrastructure for the court, an e-filing system that works, that makes it more accessible, increasing accessibility to the courthouse itself. I know many of you live kind of near Canton in Stoughton. It must be a little bit easier for you to get to the courthouse, but Norfolk County is comprised of 28 cities and towns. We have 1 courthouse that is a mile away from public transit. If you get off at University Station, you walk a mile through an office park and then right now construction to get to the courthouse. I just ask folks to kind of sit back and ask yourself, if you were a single mom having to take public transit there and needed to be there at 8:30 in the morning with a toddler, how stressful that would be before you entered the building. And those are the type of accessibility issues that I really think about. How are you supposed to use the courthouse? How are you supposed to use the resources that are there? If you can't even get there, or by the time you get there, it's incredibly stressful. There's also no place for children in the courthouse. It is a family courthouse. And we have drop-in daycare at our local YMCAs, but we don't have a space for kids in this courthouse. It's the ultimate principal's office. It's very nerve-wracking. We know so much more about trauma-informed services. And we can do so much better by the children who might have to grace the halls of that courthouse, and thinking about their experience and making sure that it is a safe space for them and a place where they feel comfortable and a sense of belonging, and that the court is there to protect them as well. And the last piece is really public-private partnerships. So in my day job, I am executive director of the largest progressive training organization in the country. We have 50 sites across 30 states. I oversee a workforce of about 1,500 volunteers across all 4 time zones. So a staff of 24 in one building sounds amazing. But you know, there's an important part about staff management and building out partnerships and coalitions, and that's something that I've really shined at. The current Register of Probate has built out about 21 programs, and these are important programs. Everything from support for grandparents doing their second tour as parents because of the opioid epidemic or other substance abuse issues, to a Dove clinic. To a lawyer of a day program where everyone can have access to the court and have legal assistance as they're filling out kind of basic filings and programs like that. I have a real knack for developing those out and filling the gaps of budgets. We know that austerity measures are coming down. COVID-19 is going to really thin out everybody's budget. And that's not just for the government, that's also for nonprofits that are doing critical work, but might see a downtick in donations and support and grants. And so having somebody who has a background in kind of filling those gaps, spending a dollar twice, understands nonprofit management, coalition building, how to make these things work is so critical, because what I'm about to tell you is not to bum you out, but is a reality. We will have a new Register of Probate. I submit to you, it should be me, but we will have a new Register of Probate come November. That person is going to be handed a lot of work, and some very serious work, because of the pandemic. We have a lot of unexpected deaths that are going to need to have their estates probated. We also sadly have seen an increase in domestic violence calls. And in March and April, the Department of Children and Family Services put out a report saying that they saw the starkest decline in child abuse reports, with absolutely no evidence that child abuse has actually gone down. with the debate raging over school systems opening and summer programs being canceled, a lot of those children who are at risk are not around mandatory reporters, but they will be in the fall. And so there will be a lot of need for catch up. There will be families that are going to need critical services and immediate responses. While the courthouse is open for emergency hearings right now, and is opening up more and more day by day, and I really applaud the team for their quick work in getting up some digital infrastructure to respond to this. What we're looking at is a rush in the fall of cases, non-emergency cases that need to be settled, but also new cases that we just know are coming. And so you need somebody who has those trauma-informed skills, who understands cultural competency and can empathetically work with different communities, and a staff that is going to be stretched really thin to support them, and nonprofits that are probably stressed about funding, to make sure that we continue to have the best family and probate court in the state, in the Commonwealth. So I'm here to ask for your vote on September 1st. There is no Republican candidate running. This is a primary take-all. I'm presently endorsed by Run for Something, as well as the Massachusetts Retirees Association, which is comprised of all municipal, county, and state retired employees. And I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your help to reach out to more folks in Stoughton. I love coming and doing standouts. We were actually just in Stoughton the other day to do Dear Friend cards. If you have the capacity to give, we would love that support. But the biggest thing is just helping us get the word out about our campaign. When elected, because I like to speak things into existence, I will be the first woman to serve in this position since the 1950s. So I'm of the personal opinion that if you need something done, give it to a busy woman, and I'm your woman. So thank you for your time tonight. And if you have any questions about my experience or my qualifications for the position, I'd love to answer them.
Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Michael.
One quick question.
No
one question for you. Going forward, a lot of the cases are currently being handled telephonically or via computer. Obviously, there's some advantages for clients who can't ordinarily, or for citizens that can't ordinarily get to a courtroom and so on, and there are obvious disadvantages and so on. I'm wondering how you foresee, what percentage of cases do you see possibly post-COVID being continually handled via Zoom or Realcomm or whatever the courts are using, or telephonically as opposed to in person? Do you think this is going to be a significant number of cases that the courts are? I know the SJC has said we're looking at possibly a lot of cases being handled permanently on this basis, since it seems to be working so well for a lot of people. Questionable, yeah. But I'm just wondering how you see that playing out.
So I think it's a yes and. I don't think that you can move forward without having some conversations with stakeholders, and that includes everything from the Norfolk Bar Association to advocate groups to some of the, actually your staff. You're right. I mean, staff plays an important role in making some of these decisions, and I'm a firm believer in that. I think you will see some cases, and actually I would love to see procedural hearings move totally to Zoom. When you free up counsels so that they're not traveling back and forth to the court, you're actually saving clients money, you're saving attorneys time. And when you free up their schedule, it makes them more likely to volunteer for things like Lawyer of the Day. When you're carrying the full workload, when you put your own shingle out there as a private and sole practitioner, that is a lot. That is your livelihood. And unfortunately, if you're spending so much time going back and forth to the court for some of the more basic procedural hearings, you probably don't have that extra time to do maybe some of those other pieces that you'd like to, like Lawyer of the Day. So I don't want to give a percentage because I haven't sat down and talked to the staff. I haven't spoken to the judges. It would be a collaborative measure across the bar, and my guess with administrative counsel up at the SJC. But I would push for it because I think that there's a lot of opportunities in infusing a digital and in-person model for the courthouse. And that's something that I would personally embrace. I'm not afraid of technology. I think that Massachusetts has one of the best court systems in the country. We are certainly the longest standing and operating court in the Western Hemisphere. So we've got a lot to work with. But we shouldn't be operating the same way we were when we started. So embracing technology is really critical.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Ooh, Alicia, I think you might be on mute.
We have about 1 minute more if there's any other questions for Courtney. One thing, Courtney, can you state your website
Yeah,
and social
absolutely.
handles?
Sure. So I'll give my final pitch. My ask of you is to vote for me on September 1st, but I would love your support and endorsement, both personally and as a committee. You can visit CourtneyMadden.org to learn a little bit more about me, or you can find us on any social media at Madden for Probate. If anyone would like to talk offline, I would certainly love to hear your experience with the Family and Probate Court and your thoughts. I think being accessible to those who need to use the courthouse is essential to be successful at this position. And I hope that you stay safe and well this summer. And don't forget to vote on September 1st or vote by mail. I'll be probably the second to last name from the bottom. I think we're the last on the ballot, and alphabetically I'm second to last. So you'll find us somewhere towards the end. But thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next up, our next candidate for tonight is another Quincy native. Brad Kroll will be speaking to us. He is running for Norfolk County Treasurer. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Brad.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Good evening to the Stoughton Democrats. It feels like forever and a day when we all congregate at the Stoughton Library at the caucus. So happy to be here this evening and share with you a little bit about my experiences, my background, and as well as vision for the office, and would certainly love to open it up for questions. Again, my name is Brad Kroll. I'm a Democrat running for Norfolk County Treasurer. Obviously, that's a September primary. I am married to my wife, Lori. I have 2 young children, Brian and Patrick. It's actually a big birthday month in the Kroll household next month. We turn 5 and 3. And, I was actually happy to hear that they went up to the White Mountains for a couple of days, as I know that, being a kid in this particular environment is, it's hard. So, again, dad is probably the most important job that I have. That's the way that I feel. In addition to being a dad and a husband, I serve in my hometown of Quincy, which Alicia had mentioned, as a city councilor. And I've done so for 5 terms. And I've held a multitude of leadership roles. Pretty early on in my career, I got appointed to the Finance Committee, which oversees about a $330 million budget, just to give some perspective. And I think that was attributed to, the skill set that I brought to the table, which I'll get into in a moment. But my last assignment, if you will, I was elected by my peers unanimously to serve as city council president. And, that was quite a role as well. I'm a district councilor, so I represent roughly 15,000 people. I'm in the trenches on issues from potholes to sidewalks to traffic issues. I mean, you name it. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I feel that that particular job allows me to, be probably one of the closest extensions to government to the people I represent. And that means something to me. Outside of that, in my day job, I worked my entire career in financial services. I came into the business, spent quite a few years working on the investment side with mutual funds, ETFs, and then actually transitioned over into the retirement plan side of the business, where I specialize now in 401ks as well as defined benefit plans, and more so even the people inside of them. I'm fully licensed. I have some advanced credentials from the Wharton School of Business, and really pride myself on being a student of the business, because quite frankly, you have to. You know, as we contemplated the run for Norfolk County Treasurer, we came out in January. You know, we were certified, fully certified, right before the pandemic hit. And the reason that we were doing it, quite frankly, was we believed that there was a major upside for that office. And, you know, the goal and sort of the sentiment has remained the same. And what I mean by that is I feel that there is major room for improvement when you contemplate things like the connectivity with the office, as well as, you know, the constituency across Norfolk County. 99% of people that I speak to have no idea what the county treasurer is, no idea what the office does. And if elected, like, that's probably my day one priority, is to change sort of that notion. You know, we feel like we have some pretty strong ideas around developing a financial literacy program that would manifest itself in a whole host of, you know, areas. So whether that was partnering with, you know, folks in the community, elected officials, to really get a sense on what the issues are that, you know, the folks are facing in the community, and hopefully be able to develop more of a customized approach to help, you know, with things like understanding budgets and, you know, planning for kids' college and estate planning. I mean, you name the issue, we really want to work on it. And we feel the best way to do that is to get people involved early. And that's pretty much been my approach as a city councilor. You know, again, it's a very important job. I'm not sure if folks have received my mailing. I feel like the pension responsibility that comes with that, or the fiduciary responsibility that comes with that, is absolutely tremendous. It's a $1 billion pension fund with over 11,000 participants, and you know, over 40 member units, of which Stoughton is one. So just to kind of frame that, you folks have about $5.5 million coming out of your general fund every year into this fund. And I feel that my qualifications would allow me the opportunity to hit the ground running. And quite honestly, I'm the only candidate in the race who has these qualifications. I think that's important. I do find these opportunities great for me to listen. So that's essentially my introduction, and I'd be happy to take any questions. That's the will, if that's the will with you, Madam Chairwoman. Turn off this bright light too. Excuse me.
Do we have any questions for Brad, or about his campaign, his qualifications, or even just generally about what the job of a treasurer for Norfolk County is? Hey, Jared, go ahead.
Hi, Brad. Quick question for you.
Please.
And I'm sorry, I stepped away for a second, so you might have said this, but could you explain kind of like what the discretionary authority of this office is, in the sense, like, I understand why it's important, I understand why it exists. What I kind of want to know is, like, what's the difference between what one person would do in it and what one other person would do in it, you know?
With respect to, like, all of it, like, what discretionary authority do you have?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm already said that I'm voting for you, so I'm more curious about the job, to be honest.
Sure. So the Norfolk County Treasurer's role, there's two critical functions, essentially. The first is what people probably think a treasurer is. The county owns multiple assets within their portfolio, and the treasurer essentially collects the receipts and reconciles the books, right? That's pretty standard for a treasurer. The second function is, by default, and this is the discretionary part to your question, you become the chairperson of a 5-member board of that $1 billion pension fund, of which Stoughton Town proper, as well as the Stoughton Housing Authority, are members. So you work with that board in concert with an investment consultant to essentially devise portfolios, to generate positive investment returns for the retirement fund, which is extremely important, just in everyday environments, never mind sort of where we're at right now, which is a lot of uncertainty. And my biggest fear or challenge, I think that comes when you assume this role, particularly next fiscal year, is what are revenues going to look like for cities and towns? Because that's going to say a lot. Remember, obviously Stoughton participates in the pension fund, but all the 28 member communities essentially are assumed an assessment that goes to the county that then funds the $31 million budget. So if state revenues are off, what does that budget look like? If state revenues are off, people are going to make hard decisions to fund their pension liability or, keep a teacher in the classroom. Those are real life conversations that are coming our way in fiscal year 22, I believe. Does that answer your question, Mr. Rowe?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, ideas?
Brad, I have a question. I recall you mentioning at our caucus an idea of having like a financial literacy event. Is that still something you envision would be able to happen with these budget limitations that might be on the horizon?
So, great question. And you're right, like a lot of the funding is dependent on cities and towns. And I always reserve the right to say, if you let it be. As a district counselor, I have shown, it's tangible. So I have shown a track record of making partnerships with public and private, right? So identifying corporate citizens. And I've already kind of taken this idea of developing a financial literacy program, and for lack of a better word, shopped it around with some people that I feel may have some interest. And I think there will be some interest there. And I share that with you, Madam Chairwoman, just because if you're depending on, a taxpayer funding source and that resource goes away, so does the program. So in an ideal situation, you'd be able to sort of create this, fund and hopefully be able to solicit some corporate sponsors so that the program can move forward regardless of whether or not the revenues are there to support it from the taxpayers. That's the ultimate. I have some ideas on how you could actually grow that particular program outside of, like, say, just going into a school or, a higher education institution. Like, here's for example, working with, again, it all comes down to stakeholders. I, by absolutely no stretch of the imagination, have this all figured out. I can tell you what I have is a lot of energy, a lot of ideas, and I want to make things work. But in order to do that, I have to engage with Stoughton's and the 27 other member communities. But you could take a program like that and create a partnership with the financial planning community and possibly set up opportunities for employment, call it internships, with folks who are students within the county. So now you're not only teaching people about necessary life skills, managing a budget, debt consolidation, credit cards, but now you're giving them an opportunity, should they wish, to have job entry and real life experience. That's where I see a program like that going and growing. But it all starts with us. Does that answer your question? Can you hear me?
Yep, great. Thanks, Brad. And can you share your website and social media, and if you have any campaign opportunities coming up, please feel free to share those as well.
Please. My website is my name spelled out. It's bradkroll.com. We've been definitely given the environments, for lack of a better word, making our rounds. I was actually in Stoughton like an hour and a half ago, right before the storm hit, doing a standout. So, you know, there's all of our content there, videos, sort of more background on the thought process for what the job can be. And again, it's an important role that I feel like is often overlooked. I don't feel that as an elected official, you know, I feel like you need to be able to articulate the value to every taxpayer in Norfolk County. And I can rest assured, again, I don't have all the answers, but I have the energy. And if given the opportunity to serve, I do believe you'd be happy with my performance. And if you weren't, I would encourage you not to vote for me. And that's what I tell people locally in my city council role as well. Again, my name is Brad Kroll. I do respectfully ask for your vote, whether you're in person on September 1st or you're doing the mail-in. We have a little slogan, I'll share it with you, but September 1st, when you go to the poll, vote for Kroll, Norfolk County Treasurer, and certainly please don't let this be the last time that we connect. I'm available through social media, email, telephone, multiple mediums. So it's great. And I'm passionate.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Brad.
Thank you all. Be safe out there.
For your family.
Bye-bye.
Next up, we're sticking with Quincy, my former hometown. So the next candidate to address us will be Kathy Hubley, who is from Quincy. She is running for Registrar of Probate. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Kathy.
I got set up and then I got very dark in here. I don't know why it's so dark. I feel like I'm in a closet. Oh my goodness. All right, hi. My name is Catherine Hubley. It's catherinehubley.com is my website. And I'm running for Norfolk County Register of Probate. And I humbly ask for your vote on September 1st. The questions I generally get from people a lot are the who are you, what does the Register of Probate do, and why do you want to be elected? So I figured I'd start with those. So I'm a mom, I'm a foster parent, I'm a teacher, I'm a family advocate, and an office specialist, and I'm a Quincy School Committee member, and have been for the past 8 years, 2 of which I was elected unanimously by my colleagues as the vice chair. I'm a lifelong Democrat, raised in a union household. I grew up in Weymouth, and I attended the Weymouth Public Schools. I got my associates in early childhood education and my bachelor's in psychology with coursework in domestic violence. I have my Director II certification from the Department of Early Education and Care. Currently, I live in Quincy with my husband, Walter, and our 2 kids, Victoria and Nathan, who aren't actually kids. They're 2 adults who they're 19 and 22 now, who both are graduates this year, 2020 graduates. My son from North Quincy High School and my daughter from Lesley University. So on to what does the Register of Probate do? The Register of Probate helps families in challenging situations such as divorce and adoption and child custody issues and guardianships and bereavement. And I feel that the Register of Probate needs to be an empathetic person who really cares and does not need to be a politician. They need to be a mom, in my opinion. When elected, I plan to look at accessibility issues. Not everyone has a car, not everyone is tech savvy, and not everyone has the same online Wi-Fi services. So I think there needs to be options. There needs to be something for everyone so that they can access what they need to access to be able to get the services they need. And I believe that there need to be satellite offices, and they need to be in places where it makes sense for them to be. Primarily, I want to be elected to help. During COVID, I spent my time running food drives and working in the Dedham Food Pantry, and also I collected over 800 masks and distributed them to the Quincy Housing Authority, Braintree Housing Authority, a Westwood Senior Center, and a Foxborough Senior Center. And that's me. That's who I am. And so And again, I'm Catherine Hubley, and I'm running for Norfolk County Register of Probate, and I humbly ask for your vote on September 1st. And I wish I wasn't so dark.
Does anyone have any questions with respect to Catherine's qualifications, job, anything?
Yep. Hi.
Mary, did you have a question?
Thank you. Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me? Yes, okay. Catherine, do you, the lawyer on demand, like the walk-in lawyer that's available for people, they have a, I know they're volunteers, they have a very limited schedule, but what might you be able to do to recruit more folks? Because I've been there twice, accompanying, you know, people looking for help, and after a wait of 4 to 5 hours, they were turned away because, you know, at noon, 1 o'clock, you know, the lawyer had to go to their day job, and there was no more. And, you know, people after waiting 4 or 5 hours had to walk out the door without receiving help. Do you have any thoughts for recruiting more volunteer lawyers for the lawyer of the day role?
I think that talking to people and just asking, I mean, that's it. You have to go to many offices, you have to work really hard, and you just have to talk to people, and you have to ask, and that's it. You ask them humbly, and you ask them honestly, and you tell them what the need is. And I think genuinely people want to help. If they can help and they have the ability to help, they will help. And you just have to go and you have to reach out and you have to ask them. And I've found that throughout everything that I have done. I've done so much for the schools. I've been working with the PTOs for years and going out and getting resources for them for everything from field trips to laptops for years. And I think if you go into an office and you go into a lawyer's office and you ask them and you put the need out there and they can, they will. And I think you just have to be an honest, humble person and be able to do that and take the time and the energy and the effort and the want to do it.
Do we have any other questions for Kathy at this time?
Yeah, sort of similar. I guess I'll be asking this of various candidates for the registrar position. Already asked it once tonight, but we've already seen that a lot of cases in probate and as well as district and other courts are being handled virtually. And I'm wondering what you personally see as the future, even post-COVID, assuming that we have a post-COVID life ahead of us. Post-COVID, do you see a lot of these cases continuing being migrated to a virtual environment? And do you see any positives and or negatives to that? I think obviously with some purely ministerial type of matters, it's very simple to handle telephonically or via video. Other times when you actually when somebody wants to be in front of a judge, particularly say in a custody matter or something, it's a little bit trickier, and I don't personally always feel that the video systems are really capable of getting capturing what I want a judge to see, say, in my clients. I'm just wondering, and you don't have to be too specific, but just in a general sense, what do you see going forward, since the courts are obviously in some cases very happy? It saves time, it saves expense, it saves travel time, etc. With this new systems. What you see in the future for in particular family and probate courts migrating or remaining on a virtual and or telephonic basis?
Yeah, well, as I said, I really feel strongly that there needs to be options. We need to keep everything open as long as it's viable to to what its purpose is. I think it should be. I mean, I know there are a lot of elderly that can't, due to maybe it's just like tech savvy or hearing or vision. They just can't do it, and they need to have options. They need to be able to go to a safe environment in which they can go into an online, in person. But at the same time, there might be a family that is having childcare issues that can't get in there, or having automobile issues, they can't get in there. And they need to have the option to be able to be at home, or, you know, be able to have the children taking a nap, or something that they can be able to be online. So there needs to be options for everyone. So accessibility is a huge thing with me. And I really believe that this is an issue with a lot of people for various different reasons. So.
Any other questions at this time? Do you have any, I know you mentioned your website, if there's any other campaign information or opportunities that you want to share with us, please do so.
Okay. Everything would be on my website if you want to go and look at it. Otherwise, I would really appreciate you voting for me on September 1st. That would be wonderful, and I would really truly appreciate that. Yeah, KatherineHubley.com. Catherine with a K.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go in now because I'm getting rained on.
So, Michael Walsh, you are next. Are you ready to speak with us? Perfect. So, Michael Walsh is running for Registrar of Probate. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Michael, for inviting me. My name is Michael Walsh, and I am running for the Registrar of Probate race. There are 5 candidates in, and let me just tell you this. I am the only candidate that is both an elected official and a practicing trial attorney. I have been practicing for 33 years. I practice in all types of courthouse, not just the probate court. I'm licensed to practice all the way in Massachusetts, right up to the Supreme Court if needed. But I've been practicing for 33 years. The first 15 years of that, I was with a large law firm by the name of Win & Win. You may have heard of it. And then after 15 years, after making my way up to managing partner, I decided to open my own firm here in Westwood 18 years ago. I actually moved my family here 3 years later. So we've lived here about 15 years, but I've had my practice here before that. My office is actually at the end of East Street in Dedham, so it's barely on Westwood, but my taxes tell me that it's definitely on the Westwood side. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was originally born in Mission Hill, raised in Dorchester. My parents still live there. Moved to West Roxbury a while ago with my wife, and then eventually we moved to Westwood. We have 3 kids. I have a daughter who's 21, a son who's 19, and a daughter who's 17. My oldest is at Bentley, my son is at Providence College, and my youngest will be a senior at Westwood High School this year. But let me tell you, so, as I like to say, the next Registrar of Probate has to be someone who's well-rounded, someone who not only stands the probate court, where I do practice, and I have practice in front of the litigation, the fiduciary litigation session, which is special to Norfolk County and a few other counties across the state. But I have been representing families and individuals. That's the work that I do for the last 33 years. So I've learned to listen to people, to get results for them, to make sure that they understand the law and that I can understand, help them and get them through the difficult times of their life. But let me just tell you, I'm not just an attorney. I am a member of the Norfolk County Bar Association, where I now serve on the executive board, which helps make the decisions for the bar. Excuse me. I'm also a member of the Norfolk County Advisory Board. Now that is a board, as Stan will tell you, that advises the Norfolk County Commissioners on their budgets, on the Aggie School, and everything else having to do with Norfolk County. I'm also a member of the Norfolk County Selectmen Association for Westwood. I'm a member of the Massachusetts Bar, the Massachusetts Municipal Association, where I actually serve as the secretary for the Selectmen Association. All of these jobs which are non-paying, just so we're clear. I can tell you that I'm also a group leader for a group called Provisors, which is a professional advisors, and the short name is Provisors. We have 6,000 members across the country. I am a group leader here in Needham, and run meetings at least once a month. But in addition to that, I have lots of volunteer work. I was an adjunct professor at Suffolk University. I'm a member of the Rotary Club in Westwood. And I think my experience all the way around makes me the most qualified candidate. Now, I'll tell you right now, I could go on and on and on, but my website, Walsh for Probate, and that's FOR, not the number 4, walshforprobate.com. You can look up and see everything that I've done, what I'm continuing to do, and that I'm an important member of the county bar and ready to go to work tomorrow. During COVID, I have been meeting with the judges and attorneys bi-weekly to go through how to make this courthouse continue to work right through COVID. Last week, I had a meeting with the entire staff, or with members, I won't say the entire staff, but members of the staff at the Norfolk County Courthouse, because obviously they're concerned. Mr. McDermott has been there 18 years and he's leaving. So they want to have an idea of who's coming in and who they think they should be supporting. I'm going to read you something today that I just got today, and I want to, because I know most of you will know this gentleman. So it says, as a Massachusetts attorney for nearly 45 years, I have interfaced with many attorneys and have interactions with the Register of Probate in both Suffolk, Norfolk, and Plymouth counties. I have had the pleasure of working with Mike Walsh. He is a dedicated, experienced, and ethical attorney with administrative and managerial skills suited to manage the Norfolk County Register of Probate. I am supporting Mike's candidacy, and I encourage you to take the time to learn about him. Then join me in supporting his candidacy with your resources, volunteering, and vote. And that is signed by Mr. Joseph Feaster, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with in Norfolk County and, more importantly, in Stoughton. Joe and I had the pleasure of working together at Win and Win, where I became one of the managing partners. So Joe couldn't give me a better recommendation, and we will be visiting Stoughton from time to time and having standouts in the square. What else can I tell you? I can tell you that, my father's a retired Boston police officer. My sister lives in Canton. I have a sister in Dorchester and a brother in Idaho. Don't ask, I have no idea how he landed in Idaho. But that will give you an idea. I've served on many boards in the past, including the YMCA Executive Board, Suffolk University Alumni Society. I was the Commodore, and this is the first time I'm telling this, I was actually the Commodore of the Wild Harbor Yacht Club, which sounds tremendous, but it is a garage in North Falmouth where we teach kids sailing. And I did that for 2 years, and I'm still on that executive board as we sit today. During COVID, I have been a Meals on Wheels volunteer. When you work for yourself, you can spare an hour here or there, 2-3 times a week to deliver meals to the seniors. And I'm continuing to do that. I did that this morning. So I'm vested in this. I'm committed. I'm educated on every aspect of this courthouse now and have been since COVID started. And Michael, I'm happy to answer your questions because I have been involved in all of the questions and the planning that's gone on in the probate court since COVID started. Again, my name is Michael Walsh. I'm running for the Register of Probate. The election, as I'm sure all good Democrats know, is September 1st. There is no final for us. This is our final. There are only 5 Democrats, no Republicans. So I'm asking for your vote. And if you know Mr. Feaster, please reach out to him as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So, what questions do we have for Michael?
Got one for you, Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
So based on, you said that you've been pretty involved with the Norfolk Probate Court throughout the whole pandemic episode and all. I haven't had much to do with Norfolk. I am in some of the other probate courts on a regular basis. I'm just wondering, what your takeaways are. What do you think has worked and not worked over the last few months? And again, I'm thinking in terms of how both Norfolk probate and all the other probate and the district, all the courts in Massachusetts are going to be over the next, say, let's fantasize and say the next 8 months, and then post-COVID, what lessons have we learned? What's worked and what hasn't, in your view?
So, Michael, what we've learned is, based on all of the other courthouses, the probate court gets the least amount of funding from the trial court, as I'm sure you know. And so, to make this better, the trial court is catching up. And the Norfolk County Register of Probate went online. We were the 4th registry to go virtual. So we are the fourth one now. It's a work in progress. I mean, I've sat through these meetings. Judges have no idea how to use Zoom. And, you know, if you take that and then add to the fact that they have terrible Wi-Fi in the courthouse, so you get from the judges, you know, as they're trying to tell you the next step. But, you know, here's something that most people didn't know. The housing court is also scheduled to go into that building on the 3rd floor on Fridays. So if you add that to the mix of what's happening in that courthouse, it's going to be about trying to create that balance between cases that need to be in front of the judges and cases that can be done. The attorney motions, those are easy. And the attorneys are loving it. They can sit at their desk, they can put on a tie and have flip-flops on. They're loving the fact that they don't have to go anywhere else. But, you know, as a practicing attorney, I'll be honest with you, Social Security, I used to object to video hearings. I wanted my judge to physically see my person there. And now I have no choice because they're only doing phone hearings. And I have postponed every single one of my phone hearings. If I have a person who's in front of a judge and they have a bad limp, you can't tell that from a phone. You can't tell that from a video. So I think, you know, as Catherine was saying, you know, about the elderly, well, you could easily come to my office and we could do a Zoom call and I can set you up. So as far as the elderly having access, if they're going to be with an attorney, or there are places that offer those services and will continue to offer them. Council on Aging, Council on Aging in Westwood is working on ways so that the seniors could come to that room if they wanted to, and at a scheduled time, use the computer. Someone would be there to assist them. And even right now, the Council on Aging is doing everything virtual, from yoga to mahjong to everything, to keep the seniors involved. So it's not that we have to, you know, worry about it, we have to make it work. And, you know, one thing that people forget about this, not only is it running the day-to-day operations of the courthouse, but you have to go in and you have to fight for your budget with the other register of probates to improve this system. If anything else, the ideas that I had before COVID are now coming into play. You know, I would tell you that I would also look to do satellite offices, satellite court offices, so that the judges could be in Plainville. Plainville just built a giant, safety building with a giant room that anyone could be able to be part of that. So, and I talked to the Plainville town moderator who says, we'd be happy to have you. So if you spread it out over the county, we can still do in-person hearings. It doesn't always have to be at the Norfolk County Register of Probate building. It could be somewhere else, and we can make it work. Even if the judges are virtual, they can see. For any of you that are really into technology, you might know that Facebook also has a program that you can plug up to your TV, and you can talk and read books to your grandchildren, etc. That is the way we are headed, whether we like it or not. We're going to be able to have a whole television. You'll be able to see the whole room, not just the individual, not just little squares like we see now. You'll be able to see anyone else in the room, which is what the judges are concerned about, is that you might be feeding somebody testimony or other information, you know, via text or whatever. But you know, once you get a larger scope camera, then that will be the way that we'll be able to conduct them. And you'll be able to see, you know, persons moving their feet or tapping their legs or something that you can't necessarily see from video like this. So that's the way of the future. That's where we're going. And I've been involved, you know, with the probate court doing these hearings and working with them, since I happen to know a little bit more about Zoom than even the judges. And even, I was going to say this now that he's on the line, even maybe Mr. McDermott at the time. So, although he's catching up now.
Michael, I'm a practicing divorce and family law attorney, and I love going to Norfolk County because it's, you know, obviously the best of all the counties.
Mr. McDermott appreciates that.
Yes, thanks to Pat's hard work on that. But in addition to, you know, how I think the court tends to be very user-friendly in terms of scheduling of motions and timing on when you could get a motion heard. They also have a ton of pilot programs that are really cutting edge for Massachusetts. What are your feelings on that?
So those are going to continue. We've been working with the Norfolk County Bar, and Mr. McDermott's been on some of these phone calls as well, working to increase that. Not only reaching out, now we're reaching out outside of Norfolk County to get more volunteers for the system. You know, the There are other programs that we can get more law schools involved too, student interns who can sit with lawyer of the day and kind of help and get a feel for how these things work. When you breed them, coming out of law school, and this is what they think they want to do, what better than to sit with lawyer of the day and be able to help, once they pass the bar, to be able to come in and do those things as well. So, it's a training program that has to really be ramped up, especially now under COVID, because we're going to need help. Mr. McDermott and the entire probate court, they have the lawyer of the day now virtually. So if you think about that, before COVID, you might only have 1 or 2 conference rooms. Now with breakout rooms, you could have 23 lawyers of the day and be able to ship people and schedule them so that you can schedule, Mr. McDermott he's going to be online, from 1 to 2 or whatever he can spare that day. Instead of have to drive to the courthouse now, he can virtually be there right from his desk and then be off at 2:15 and go do a deposition in his conference room at 2:30. So this is opening up new doors that we never expected, and it kind of force-fed to us, if you will. But listen, everyone is doing the best they can and getting up to speed. And it's taken the law practice a lot longer than it's taken the professional world. Investment people talk to China every single night, on Zoom. And here we are, can't figure out for the lawyers how to figure out how to do a simple motion or conference. Is saying, is my mic on? Am I unmuted? Famous words. The other one is, you're still muted. I hope I answered your question, Alicia.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions for Michael at this time? All right, and can you just remind us of your social, your website?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook at Attorney Michael Walsh for Norfolk County Register of Probate. Kind of long, but you want people to be able to find it. The simple one, you can go to my website, which is fully functional, walshforprobate.com. You can call me in my office. I am there every day. That number is listed under the law offices of Michael F. Walsh. I am in Westwood. That is probably the hardest thing for me, is that I'm in the little tiny town of Westwood, but I'm not ashamed of it. I worked hard to get there, and I work hard for the people of Westwood. So hope that answers, and you're welcome to call me anytime.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So the next candidate we'll be hearing from tonight, and we're running 4 minutes ahead of schedule, so I feel like we're really succeeding tonight. That is Patrick McDermott, so the outgoing Registrar of Probate for Norfolk County, who is running for Norfolk County Sheriff. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Timing is everything, I guess. This is great. And I'm glad, I didn't realize I was going to be on the call with, and I see that Kathy Hubley, Mike Walsh, Courtney Madden are on. And so I'm glad I caught at least the tail end of Michael's presentation. But it's exciting because we've been around the circuit a couple of times, and it's fun to see the new set of eyes on the office. And as much as I've enjoyed the last 18 years being a Register of Probate, and I'm proud of the accomplishments that I've been able to put forth on behalf of the people in Norfolk County for the last 18 years. I think a new set of eyes is always a good thing, no matter what organization you're in. And so I'm always excited to kind of hear the candidates who are running to succeed me at the probate court, to continue on kind of that innovative vision of how we can provide services to all of the people in Norfolk County, not just those well-to-do that can afford an attorney, but really the access to justice initiatives that I've put forward over the last 18 years on domestic violence issues, guardianship issues, and certainly just the day-to-day issues relative to family law. So I just want to briefly, it's great to be back with the Stoughton Dems. I'm no stranger to the organization. I've made an effort to be engaged with the local Democratic town committees over my career. I forget the last event that we were able to come together at, but I think it was a Sunday morning that right pre-COVID that we got together, and so it was great. And my passion has just ramped up all that much more as this election kind of comes to a full head, and we're 5 weeks out from the election. But just to give a little background, because I don't proclaim that everybody knows who I am necessarily, but So Patrick McDermott, I'm from Quincy, Massachusetts. I live here with my wife, attorney Tracy Wilson, 2 teenagers, Adam and Alana. I'm a graduate of St. Paul's Choir School in Cambridge. Went along to Boston College High School, Boston College, and then got my law degree at Suffolk Law. I was a community activist right out of college, became the president of my neighborhood association at the age of 22, 23. I ran for the city council, was a success on that first run, served 6 years on the Quincy City Council. Got my law degree at the time. I was looking to go out and practice law, which I did start a small real estate law practice for a couple of years. And then the opportunity presented itself to run for Register of Probate. And like everything else, I had a chance, my mentors over the years was Register of Deeds and former State Senator Paul Harold, who I helped elect to that position. Currently District Attorney Mike Morrissey, I was his aide at the State House back in the day. And the former Sheriff Mike Bellotti, I was his aide at the State House. So with all that knowledge, I launched into being a county official, and I've been blessed with your support and the support of all the 28 towns that make up Norfolk County for the last 18 years. And it's really been a great run. But every great run has its day. And I looked at an opportunity. I probably, my wife and I had a conversation about whether or not I was even seeking re-election this year in the first place, before the sheriff thing even came up. And I really took a hard look, just like I took a hard look years ago when we first got married, and I decided not to seek a 4th term on the Quincy City Council. No one walks away from political jobs. It just doesn't happen. But I took it upon myself to leave the Quincy City Council when the timing was right. And I felt as though the time was right for me to move on to something different this year. Didn't realize that it would be the sheriff's office, but a year and a half ago, that started coming to fruition. We put together a team. We started looking at the position, and it's evolved. And like everything else that I've jumped into, when I see a challenge, I like to jump into it and need it, put it together. And our campaign right now is based upon really reinventing the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is predominantly the care and custody of inmates who are serving up to 2.5 years in the House of Correction in Dedham. We also do pretrial detention for those individuals that are actually being held prior to an actual trial in the Superior Court as well for higher crimes. But what we wanted to do is reinvent the office. I look at the sheriff's opportunity to evolve into the public safety officer for Norfolk County. And that comes to multiple purposes. First and foremost, we do have to deal with the corrections issue. People that are in our custody, we need to actually create a corrections environment that corrects the behavior that got them into the sheriff's office in the first place. While we're there, we have to focus on rehabilitation. That's the #1 goal. When we have these men, and we have all men right now in Norfolk County, but part of my plan is to have a female facility built for the female population that we do not serve right now. But we need to rehabilitate the criminal that's there, that the person that's done the crimes. And that rehabilitation sometimes, and most of the time in Norfolk County, deals with mental illness, addiction treatment, job training, and education. And those are all the components that I think in the rehabilitation need to be done. The other thing we focus on, and I think it is the key to reduction of recidivism, we focus on the reentry component. As inmates are graduating out of their sentencing and going back into the community. Now, mind you, the average inmate at the Norfolk County Correctional Facility only serves 111 days. That's the average. So even though you can serve up to 2.5 years in the house, the average sentence is 111 days. We don't have them for a long time. We don't have enough time to really get into figuring out what their issues are, especially those that are there for a shorter period. So the reentry component is that much more important, to make sure that the person that's serving, first and foremost, we know why they're there. We know the services that they need while they're in the correctional facility, but more importantly, what they need to get back into the town of Stoughton and live and thrive there. And that might be housing. It might be mental health and addiction treatment. It may be a job, maybe job training. And I have a plan for all of those. I think my background working with nonprofits is an unbelievable advantage that I have over my opponents. I know exactly how to deal with individual problems and how to create partnerships with these nonprofits and folks on the outside to create an environment where these folks can thrive. The other big component of the sheriff's office is the community outreach program. we need to look at ways to prevent crimes before they happen. And that's through awareness programs with our senior population, our most vulnerable populations that are subject to scams that come about. And that's through a partnership with our district attorney, with our local police departments, to educate those folks who might be of a vulnerable population. My primary focus will be on our youth. You know, that's where we have an opportunity, young minds that can be formed. And young minds can be formed in a negative way or in a positive way. I've worked with the juvenile court system, and I know the problems, unfortunately, that youthful offenders can get into. Youthful offenders turn into adult offenders. And so I want to look towards a partnership with our juvenile court to identify youth at risk, to put preventative programs in place so that those youthful offenders don't turn into adult offenders. If they do, and they do inevitably, that we do have young offenders or first-time offenders, we want to make sure that there is a part of our facility that focuses on those first-time offenders. That's the best opportunity for success, in my opinion, is working with the youthful offender or the first-time offender that's in the jail system for the first time. How can we go about helping that person so it's their first and only time that they're going to be in the facility? So that's like the four-pronged approach that I'm going to look at. At the end of the day, what distinguishes me, I think, over my opponents in the race, it comes down to leadership. Every organization I've been a member of, I've been a leader of. Whether it's back, like I said before, we can go into college if we want. I was the vice president of the marching band. I was the drum major for the Boston College Eagles marching band. Getting out of BC, became the president of my neighborhood association. I'm a 3-time Grand Knight of the Knights of Columbus in Quincy, the president of my Rotary Club. I was president of the Registers of Probate Association. I was president of the Norfolk County Bar Association, with great contacts with our lawyer community to help out the folks that need the services the most. And I just finished up my year as president of the Quincy Rotary Club. So I have a demonstrated leadership ability. My management skills, I'll put those up against my opponents on any day of the week. I have a focus on budgetary priorities that need to be looked at, and most importantly, strategic planning and visioning. And I think Michael was talking as I came on about some of the things that we've done at the probate court, and we've been challenged this year under COVID. And I am most excited, I never thought in a million years I'd have to do it, opening up a virtual courthouse. And we're 2 weeks into it. We're averaging 45 or 50 people a day accessing the courthouse through Zoom from their home, just like you're on this call tonight. It's the most satisfying thing I've done, I think, at the probate court this far, because of the access issue. People don't have to wait in line. People don't have to expose themselves to the health crisis that we're having now. And people can get an efficient resolution of their questions. So these are the innovative ideas that I'm constantly churning out, and I want to deliver to the people in Norfolk County as the next sheriff. So I'm happy to take any questions that people might have, but I'd really love your support. Thanks, Alicia. Thank you, Michael, and everybody that's on board. And I saw Stan and Robin Zoll in Paris, which is fantastic. I love seeing the Parisian climate. Hope everything's well over there in our European continent. So thank you. So questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Sylvia.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Whiting. I'm a new member to Stoughton, new resident. We had run a diversion program many years ago at the Suffolk County House of Correction. Huge issue at this time is systemic racism, and how is it going to be addressed in the Norfolk County House of Correction? The correctional facility, predominantly non-white inmates, non-white people being stopped on the streets, arrested for minor crimes, or looking at up to 2.5-year sentences. So there's nothing in your presentation that even talked about it. So I just wondered, what are you going to do to address this, especially in the prison setting? I mean, you're not addressing it out in the street, I don't think, but you know, once the guys are in prison, pardon me?
It's my plan actually to do that. Part of my platform, and I actually announced it last week. I think that we have a systemic problem, not just in Norfolk County, but it's in every one of our towns. It's in our neighborhoods when it comes to racism. And I've actually taken up the challenge that in the event that I'm the next sheriff in Norfolk County, we will make racism a public health crisis in Norfolk County. And we will focus town by town on that. And I'm ready to lead that charge. And that's not an easy issue to resolve. I mentioned a story a couple of weeks ago. I sat with, it was a dual demonstration in Braintree with the Braintree Police Department as well as with Black Lives Matter. And I sat there listening to both sides. And when the Braintree Police Department folks had gone home, I stayed there. I stayed there till almost 9:30. It was an hour and almost 2 hours after the demonstration was over. And we had a very in-depth and difficult conversation. And that's not going to be solved overnight. It's not going to be solved by a politician that thinks that they can spout and say, this is a great thing. This is going to take hard conversations. It needs somebody that can coordinate those conversations with law enforcement, with training. And in our jail, yes, corrections officers need to have additional training relative to sensitivity. We need to diversify our workforce there. And we certainly need to address the issue of bail reform, why minority offenders are being sentenced to higher sentencing than white offenders. And that's something I want to get a better grip on. And working with the district attorney, I've had many conversations with Mike Morrissey about this in Norfolk County. He is a progressive Democrat in a way that wants to stem the tide of racism in this community. And I think that with our partnerships and with the partnerships with the local police departments and the local community organizations, I think we can advance the discussion. It's not going to be changed overnight. Thank God for a 6-year term as sheriff.
Well, I thank you. I guess my concern is, are you going to be willing in that position to take a hard line against your staff who express discriminatory activities and, you know, issues against the inmates? And
Zero tolerance.
Exactly, zero tolerance.
Got it. That's just on that note, I have their endorsement. I have the endorsement of the Corrections Officers Union. I have the endorsement of the what's known as the AdTech Union, which is the teachers, the psychologists, the nurses, the educators at the jail. We've had these discussions already. I'm not even the sheriff yet, but we've had very hard conversations about this issue. They believe in my leadership skills. They know there are problems there, and we got to work together to solve them.
Yeah, because I think the thing that you need to know is that the community is now watching. The community will not tolerate this to go on in the prisons. We dealt with this in the 90s in the Suffolk County House of Correction and the North Shore, Bristol, not Bristol, but the one.
Bill
Ricca House of Correction. You're talking years ago. Diversion programs, the same thing. Now we're back. And is it just going to be?
I hate is what I call it, the one and done mentality. You know, we are a media driven society, and it drives me crazy because tomorrow a tragedy could hit and this issue will be on the back page of the newspaper. This requires a leader that's willing to keep it on the front burner. This thing can't go away. And I'll tell you something, my biggest frustration, and I refuse to join any committees or task force or blue ribbon committees that don't have a vision or a goal to solve a problem. Anybody that puts together a commission or a task force just for the sake of putting one together, and currently the current sheriff has put together several of them, that have no results, that have no vision to fix any problems. And I'll tell you something, I am sick of serving on those committees. I will never lead one. I will only lead committees that have a result-oriented outcome.
Let me get in there for 1 minute.
My husband wanted to ask you a question.
Thank you very much for coming and talking with us. You just spoke with my wife, and the two of us have done a lot of work in criminal justice and worked at different houses of corrections and whatnot, working with inmates and work release and all those kinds of things. And what we found is that when the leadership takes a strong stand and is clear about what they want to do, things happen. But when the leadership doesn't do that, then it's sort of like, you know, the inmates are running the asylum, and I mean all of the inmates. So what I'd be looking for from a person like yourself, and I'm glad to say that you don't want to be part of those committees that just come together just to say you have a committee or lead one of them. So I'm glad to hear you say that, and I would certainly be willing, if it was necessary or required, to sit down and have a conversation with you or someone else and to be part of the solution and to talk with you about my own personal experience and some of the things that I think would make a difference in terms of fairness and equity for yourself, for your staff, because we saw, correctional officers and whatnot having a really tough time because they just didn't have the guidance and so forth that they needed. So I'm hoping that that's something that you take into consideration as you move forward in this job.
I am so, and if I'm blessed with the nomination and I'm blessed with the election in November, it's folks like you that I want on that team, because you've experienced it. And here's the other problem with it: the opposite can occur too. When it comes to a leader taking a stand. Look what's going on down in the Bristol House of Correction. Now that sheriff has taken a leadership stand. However, it's the total opposite of what all of us here believe in. I mean, he embarrasses the inmates. He uses them as props. He uses them down in Washington with President Trump. He says, let's send those inmates down to help build the wall. What a total disgrace. And I will be the total opposite of that guy.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. That's very good. Thank you for coming out and speaking with us, and thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Linda, go ahead.
Oh, we're muted. Linda, you're muted there. You press the button. Mute. You're muted.
Yeah. I'm okay now, right?
You're okay, but Linda's trying to talk and she has to unmute.
Okay, good. All right.
There you go.
Okay.
Beautiful.
What do you think about those federal agents being sent to the protests? Throwing people, arresting people out on the street, throwing them in vans. These people, they don't even have uniforms on with names. We don't even know who they are. What's going on there? I can't even understand that.
So I think, is this the issue with the president trying to he's sending in federal agents to these hot spots of Chicago and Baltimore? And yeah, I mean, I stand with responsible mayors like in Massachusetts, like Marty Walsh, Tom Koch here in Quincy, and other big city mayors that they know how to run their community. We don't need Donald Trump running our local municipality. And he has they're almost like, they're like stormtroopers that are coming in. And some people, he says they're just federal agents coming in to assist local communities, in advice and consent. It's a total fabrication and a lie. I think we've already established the president is a liar. I think we've established that he has a racist mentality. And I know, he certainly is just so out of touch that thank God we have Joe Biden waiting in the wings. But federal agents, unless they're invited to participate in a community, I think they shouldn't be. So I know as sheriff, if I'm elected and if I was needed to be in a position to back up our local communities and our mayors, I'd be standing shoulder to shoulder with our local communities to make sure that they're safe. We don't need Donald Trump and his stormtroopers to come into town.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Patrick, can you remind us all of your social media and website and any campaign opportunities real quick?
Yep, it'd be great. My website is patrickmcdermott.org. I'm also on Facebook at Patrick McDermott for Norfolk County Sheriff, if you just checked in on Facebook. And also for those, I think, Alicia and Mike, I don't know if has publicity gone out to, I know that the Stoughton Dems are at least part of the town of Stoughton is part of the League of Women Voters. So if anybody is interested in attending next Wednesday night, there's going to be a forum for the Norfolk County Sheriff candidates, and I look forward to having that. Apparently there's about, I think they have about 80 people signed up already. They have up to 500 spots available. So I hope to see everybody there because we're going to talk about a lot of these issues and more. So visit me on patrickmcdermott.org. You can sign up if you're interested in volunteering for the usual things, sign locations, visibilities. I think we're going to be in Stoughton next week in downtown having a visibility. So love to have as many people on board as we can get.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you
so much. So our last candidate who will be speaking tonight, thank you so much for joining us and waiting. we have Mr. Richard Stady, who is running for County Commissioner for Norfolk County.
All
Hi,
right.
Richard.
Hey, how we doing? Good to see everybody. Always great to be back in Stoughton. It's not a far distance for me to travel from Canton, so I get to see Stoughton quite a bit. And despite being a bulldog, I hope you won't hold it against me. Stoughton will always have a special place in my heart. I remember speaking to your caucus back in March. That seems like years ago now, doesn't it? I mean, so much has happened and so much has changed. When I spoke, I mentioned the fact that my dad built a lot of homes in Stoughton, and being the youngest boy, my job was just basically to be with him and do whatever he told me to do, and that was it. So I got to know Stoughton pretty good. And you have great pizza in Town Spa, the best around, we know that. But I'm running for county commissioner. I want to give you a quick summary of what I've done and what I stand for and my background, and hopefully solicit your support this evening. Basically, when I was running back in March, COVID hadn't hit yet, but even with the pandemic, we were able to get over 1,000 signatures. We did it because of a collective, collaborative effort by many people, not just friends and family, but other people who believed in what I stood for and wanted to support me and wanted to see change. They wanted to see change. And so I'm proud to say we got over 1,000 signatures, even though they lowered it. And of course, as I said, I'm on the ballot as a Democrat. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I have served as chairman of my own committee for 5 years. I serve right now in Canton as the town moderator, a position I've held for over 20 years. And I'm also a former selectman or select board member. That's the proper term. I've done that for 9 years and served as chairman of the Canton board for many, many years. But I guess what's on point is the fact that currently I also serve as a member of the County Advisory Board. And that's a board that perhaps many people don't understand and don't know about. Each town in Norfolk County gets to send a delegate. Stan Zoll, who I thought was hiding somewhere behind the Empire State Building, there he is. No, I'm sorry, that's Paris. I'm sorry. Hi, Stan. He represented Stoughton very well for many, many years and did a very nice job. You get to meet a lot of people. You get to interact with a lot of different mayors and city councilors, some selectmen, some past and present. But basically, the job of the county finance board, the advisory board, is to oversee the spending and to work with the commissioners closely on budgetary issues. We don't have final say. We have sort of like a finance committee as to a town. We make recommendations on the budget. The commissioners do have the final say. But it gave me and has given me insight and firsthand insight into the budget process. Now, I will tell you, for the 20 years I served, it was really very like a friendly type of board. Stan can attest to that. That you'd go, you have a dinner, you'd meet people. There was some social aspects. But I will tell you, over the last year or so, and especially at the most recent meeting, times are changing. Probably the most lengthy and hostile meeting I've ever witnessed in my years on the county board. And why? Because it had to do with the budget. And it's a sign of things to come. If you talk to your state reps, your state senators, all the way across the board, we are facing some hard decisions on the local level, on the state level, and on the county level. So it's going to take people who are qualified, who have experience, and who are unafraid to make a decision and to make a stand to get us through. I feel I have that qualification. Well, how does it relate to county commissioner? The county commissioner is, in a way, like a selectman of a town, or a select board member, if you will. All right, there is a school, the Norfolk County Aggie School. They oversee the court buildings and the maintenance of them, the registry of deeds. They also are in charge of county roads, engineering, and a county golf course. Well, I'm not a golfer, so I can't say I have experience there, all right? But as a former teacher of many, many years at Canton High School, I feel I have really firsthand knowledge of the operations of a school, and I think I can bring that experience as both a teacher and a department head to the job and helping to evaluate and reshape and make sure the Aggie School is kept at the highest level. As a lawyer, I now spend some time in court, not perhaps as much as my colleague, Michael Walsh, who also is on the advisory board with me. And there you go, Mike, I didn't forget. But I do know that I have spent some time in the Stoughton court and other court buildings. And again, that gives me a little bit of an edge in terms of evaluating budgets and in talking in terms of building. What do they need? I think one of the things we do need is a long-term capital program. It's sorely lacking, and we need to organize that and start putting aside money each year towards that end. Where's that going to come from? Okay, so now to my platform. 3 R's. I believe number 1 in renewable energy. I'm a big green candidate. I believe that we should be looking at, as much as possible, putting solar panels on as many county buildings as possible to generate both clean energy and generate potential revenue. Number 2, I believe in regionalization, and I really mean it. I've done it. I don't just walk the walk. I don't talk the talk. I've done it. Several years back with former Fire Chief Tim Renane, great guy, I worked with him and 4 or 5 other fire chiefs in the area to organize the first regional civil dispatch system. Stan might have been on the board at that time. I believe we got a grant for the state and we put it together to save money. It's a model program that now is being copied in other parts of the state. It's the first example of what I could do more of, regionalization. Use the county to help you out on the local level, because as your budget starts to cut back, you're going to have to make some hard decisions. And regionalization is an option we should explore. And I would think third, it's to some degree reform. I'm not looking to turn things upside down, but I want to bring a fresh face. We have an opportunity here. For many years, one of the commissioners served. He was on there, oh God, maybe 30 years. He finally has retired for health reasons. And there's an open seat, and I am seeking that seat, if you will. There are actually 2 seats open on the ballot. There are 4 people running, but I am seeking, if you will, the open seat, and hoping to take that spot there and do a good job. So I think my education, my experience as an attorney, my ideas of being transparent, and in terms of other issues I would try to attack, I think will help me to do the job I think you want to do and I will do in the years ahead. I will say also that in terms of other issues that perhaps might be in the periphery and they shouldn't be, but I know that there's an awful lot of concern about Black Lives Matter and making sure that we're making sure that the county on all levels is looking at things openly and in a transparent way. I have attended several vigils. I have become involved in the Innocence Project, and I will assure you that in my administration, if elected, I will make sure that we are transparent, open, and non-discriminatory. There's no place for that in the county or local level or state government. I will kudo out to the new elected select person, Deborah Roberts. I met her doing a standout. Great person, great addition to your town. I've been doing standouts in different areas. Maybe you've seen a few signs. I'd love to have support from my neighbors in Stoughton. I have a website. It's very easy. It's just www.votestadycommissioner.com. Pretty easy. I'm also on Facebook, Richard Stady for Norfolk County Commissioner. And I would welcome any questions you might have, and obviously welcome any support. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you so much. Do I see any questions?
I won't put Pat on any special committees, by the way. Pat's a good guy. I was going to put him on one of my new committees, but now I got the word. It's not happening. Don't worry about it. Okay? It's not happening. But kudos, Pat. Nice job tonight. I'll tell you, it's a funny world. I'll just share a personal thing. I thought Zoom was going to make it easier, and it has. But I saw Michael only seconds ago on the Dedham Down Committee, and it was funny to see him here because we're all making the rounds. It's an interesting world we're in now, very different. And I also had a zoning case. God forbid I should try to make a living, but I had a zoning case at 6. So different world. But COVID, in one sense, has forced us to rethink our way of doing things. And I think when I think back to when I was an educator in the classroom, that was the one thing I tried to stress to my students. Think outside the box. Think of different ways. Don't do it the same way. Think for solutions. And as a scientist, take a shot. Take a hypothesis and give it a shot. Explore it and then test it out. I think that's what's working here in terms of how we're managing our time and in terms of our social distancing. And I think I would break that same attitude. I pledge as a county commissioner, not going to be the same old person. I don't believe in doing things the same way. If it works, fine. But if not, I want to rethink ways. I want to involve more people, and I want to make sure that we make strides forward to get through this year and the years ahead, because it's going to be tough. Thank you. And I'll be out in Stoughton next week. Pat, I don't know what time you're going to be there, but you can give me a coffee if you want. I'll be out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
thank you much. All right, well, I'm not seeing many questions. Are there, there's a board, right? A few county commissioners, is that right? There's,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
The county commissioners, there were 3 members. There were 2 elected this year. And then in 2 years, the other person would be elected. So the term of office is 4 years. I would be obviously humbled and honored to be nominated. And I was surprised because I thought, we all did, that if we got the nomination, we were all set. Surprise, surprise, somebody is running as an independent, not sure why, but we will have to go all the way to November. So we won't be done in September, whoever gets the nomination. But again, there are 2 positions that you can vote for 1 or 2, but 2 get the nomination in the primary. So, yep.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you to all of our candidates. Michael, did you have anything to add at this point? Michael Horn?
Nothing more. Just appreciate all of you showing up. I get that I've been talking to you and scheduling this. We understood that you're all going to be bouncing around and tried to fit you all in. And I appreciate everybody showed up on time. Everybody stayed within like 15 minutes. And we stayed really close to being on schedule. And that I love more than anything. So thanks again for everybody for being so cooperative.
Thank you.
And we will, like I said, we have recorded this, and if the video comes out okay, I will definitely be sending it out to our other members so that everybody gets a chance. I can tell you right off that all of you looked and sounded great, so you shouldn't have any qualms about your performances tonight. But I do want to get this out because we do have, I think we have over 50 people on our list. They all tend to be influencers themselves, so we want to get this out to everybody, and I'm pretty sure that most of them will take a look. I know tonight was a tough night for a lot of people.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Great.
Have a
Thank
great
you, Mike.
night.
Thank
Talk to all
you.
of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah, we'll see everybody in August.
Thank you.